Hello guys. So what I'm going to do today is that I want you guys to come up with a presentation, like a slideshow presentation. And of course, before you come up with a slideshow presentation, you need to do your slideshow first. And before you need to have your for you to do your slideshow, you need to have some guidelines. So I'm going to show you what are the things that I want you to have in your slideshow. So I put the title your viewpoint because in this topic, in this task, we'll be looking at your viewpoints. Your opinions, they matter. So the first thing that you need to do is to choose your topic. So it can be just anything, but any topic that is interesting, that you like to talk about, and most important thing is that when you talk about it, people want to listen to you, okay, because it is interesting, because it is something that they want to know more about. So you can just choose any topic. You can talk about World War II, that's something that happened in the past. COVID-19 pandemic, that what is everybody talking about. You can talk about cancer. It's very popular. It's a disease that is killing everybody in the world. I mean, most people. Terrorist attack, that's a hot issue. Video games as well. Economic crisis that's happening across the world, especially with the pandemic. So it can be just anything. So pick your topic, one topic, and then once you already decide, once you are able to decide on your topic, the next thing that you need to do is to pick three articles, not one, not just two, but three articles related to your topic. So if say you choose about COVID-19 pandemic, so you pick three articles related to COVID-19 pandemic. So if you like to talk about any natural disaster, volcano explosion, so you need to pick three articles related to that topic. But then when you pick the three articles, these three articles, they need to come from three different sources. The first one is news article, like an online news. You can see in the middle, Biden calls for a time of healing. So that's an online news, that's CNN. And the second one is website. So a website, it can be just anything, right? You Google it, and those are the list of websites. A list of websites will come out on your internet. What The most popular website is Wikipedia. I know it's the easiest web page for us to check on something. I also like to check on Wikipedia, but it's just that Wikipedia usually it is not that reliable. That's what people talk about. And of course, social media posts. Most of the time you look at updates from Facebook, Twitter, usually Facebook. So I put here the three examples. Wikipedia is an example of website. On CNN, the online news is an example of news article, and that message, the last one, it's a post on Facebook. So that's an example of social media. So you pick a topic, and then you need to choose three articles from three different sources. And what you do, the first thing that you need to do is obviously you need to read these articles, you need to understand them, and then you gather the facts from these three articles. Now, it can be just anything from the articles, but they are facts. Facts mean things that are true. Okay, so some of them are opinions, some of them are questionable, but the facts are facts are facts. Let's say I put an example here, COVID-19 pandemic. Now, first of all, what we know about COVID-19 pandemic, let's say you did an article, it spreads through close interaction, close physical interaction. So that's why people keep telling everybody we are telling everybody to keep their physical distance from each other. And then people who have this kind of people who have that virus in them, they do show some symptoms, high fever, fatigue, and so many other symptoms. So these are the symptoms that people need to look at. And it's spread across the world in 3 months. I think the first time we heard about the pandemic, COVID-19, was on late November or early December, and then by early March, or by late February, I think almost many countries in the world already have had confirmed cases on COVID-19. So you need to read these articles and gather at least three most important facts. So write them down on your slideshow. Put them on your slideshow. At least three important facts. At least. You can always go more. And then when you read these 3 articles, the next slide is for you to tell your audience, your listeners, and these are the things that you need to put in your slide, is that how do the articles, or how did the articles make you feel and why? Okay, basically when you read something like COVID-19 or the election in the United States or the typhoon that was in the Philippines, so what did it make you feel? There must be a feeling. Are you worried? Are you anxious? Or are you excited? Like the U.S. election, were you excited? Were you? And then you might be anxious about a hurricane in the Philippines because it's too close to us. So what you feel, and then explain why you feel in such a way. So I put an example here. Let's say article of COVID-19. I'm concerned that people will have prejudice on those who have been infected. Obviously, you hear all these people are getting this disease, and you are like really getting scared, and then you have prejudice on them. Oh my God, these people! Why can't they just follow rules? Why do they have to happen to have this disease? Why didn't they do anything to avoid it in the first place? So these can lead to prejudice. We stay away from them. We have these negative perceptions on them. And then when you create this prejudice, I put the word because there, it creates fear among people. So people who might feel that they have symptoms, who have experience having contact with people with the disease, they might be scared to go for testing. So when they are not being tested, they are out there spreading the virus. So it becomes more difficult for us to prevent the virus. So that's one of the things that we have to look at. What you feel and then why. Now, the next slide is for you to think about the positive outcomes of something. Well, COVID-19, it's a bad thing. The pandemic, it's a scary thing. People are very worried. But there are some few of the positive outcomes that might have happened as a result of it. First of all, when the pandemic took place, people began to become, I put here the example, COVID-19, people began to be more aware of how to protect themselves from getting this kind of disease, infection. So they adopt new norms. So new norms, you wear masks, you wash your hands frequently, you keep your distance from other people, you avoid doing certain things. So that's one of the positive outcomes that might happen, and people might keep practicing that in the future permanently. And then people, because we can't meet in persons, people are doing things online. So a lot of people, students, teachers like us, and students like you are learning how to use technology, how to use online platforms to do the things that we used to do in person. And then when you talk about the positive effects now, the positive outcomes, and you might want to talk about the negative effects too. What are the things that we need to look out for, things that we need to be careful of? Let's say, for example, here, another example is COVID-19. Now, when COVID-19 happened, we had to go for lockdown and schools were closed. When schools were closed, students missed their schools. They couldn't go to schools. There's no school to go to. They had to study, or they need to learn at homes, and there were difficulties in terms of doing online classes, in terms of sitting for exams and so on. So schools education was disrupted. So that's bad. That's bad for most people, not just in Malaysia but across the world. And a lot of people lost their jobs as a result of COVID-19. So that's bad too. When people lost their jobs, they had no income, they had no money to support their families and themselves. So it's definitely a crisis, not just a national crisis, but a global crisis. And the next slide is what are your ideas? Okay, so you have all these things that are happening, the problems, the positive outcomes, the consequences. So do you think of any ideas on how can we solve this problem? How do we deal with this problem? Let's say for COVID-19, maybe it's about time for us to redesign our airplanes. If you've ever been on the airplanes, the design has been always the same for the past decades. It has been always like that, and it's not really a comfortable and ergonomic, efficient design. So maybe we need a new design so that not only that they are more comfortable, but they can prevent, the new design might be able to prevent infection, because usually most viral infection happens as a result of people traveling from one place to another, and that's usually through airplane and airport. And then your next slide and your last slide is, what is your advice to the people? So tell the people who are listening to your presentation, to you, your listeners, what do you think that they should do? Now, what's your advice to them? COVID-19, for example, it's very simple. Keep your physical distance from each other. I know that people can find it very difficult because we used to be really close to each other. Sometimes we shake hands, we hug each other. We can't do that anymore. Well, not for now at least. Avoid crowded areas like markets or supermarkets, and then wash your hands frequently. So that might be the advice that you would like to give to people. So ladies and gentlemen, remember, when your task is at first, you need to choose a topic. It can be anything: COVID-19, health crisis, changes in school education, and then you pick three articles from three different sources. Those are online news, website, and social media like Facebook. And then you create an 8 slides for your topic. This is the slides that you will present later. Okay, but the first thing that you need to do now is just your slideshow. The first slide, you put your topic. The second slide, you put your 3 articles there, or you state the 3 articles. The third slide is that you answer this question. You already have a topic, you read the articles, the 3 articles, and then the third slide, you answer this question: what are the facts that you have managed to gather from the 3 articles? And then the fourth slide, how do these articles make you feel? Now, you already read them, and how do they make you feel, and why? And the next slide is that what are the positive outcomes of whatever issue, event, or tragedy, incident that takes place, and that are related to the topic and the articles you have chosen. So what are the positive outcomes? There must be some sort of optimistic views related to that. And then the next slide, what are the negative effects of this? There are always positive sides of something, and then there are always negative sides of it. And then the next slide, what's your idea? Your suggestion, your recommendation, okay, for us to solve this kind of issue, to deal with this kind of issue. And the final slide, the 8th slide, is that you giving advice to the people. Your own advice. What can you tell them to do? Tell them so that they will feel better, so that they can do something that is something that it can help them cope with this situation or with the topic that you have chosen. Okay, so once you are done with the slide, you send it to me so that I can check it for you. I can make some changes, some editing, and then I'll send it back to you, and then you can proceed with the next task, which is to write a script related to your presentation. Okay, all the best, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me.